Okay, yeah, all right. We gotta get ready. We gotta do the body bags review. Movie's right there. Everything's good to go. See here, can I remember everything? All right. So yeah, I think I'm about ready to do this. Uh, who are you? I am here to watch you do your review. I cannot wait to hear about it. You're not gonna be distracting me, are you? No, no, I don't want to distract you. No, quite the opposite. I want to hear about all the blood, the death, the gore, the carnage. Oh, that's all I live for. That's all I care about. I just want to hear nothing but death and violence and just, pure massacres all over the place. Well, this movie has a lot of blood and boobs and, a lot of female nudity and sex. What? Nudity? Boobs? Female nipples? No. No, I can't watch this sort of thing. No! No, shit my eyes! No! Hello, everyone. Welcome to Body Bags. I'll be your reviewer for today. I'm Lonnie from Horror Heaven77. And yeah, if you've been following this week, we're doing our theme week, which is the works of director Jean Rollin. And I do like some of his movies, but the one thing you're going to understand, though, is well, you already do understand this if you're ever watching a variety of any of his movies, or if you've been watching the reviews going on for this past week. His movies are very much an acquired taste, but his movies are not really the average horror movie fan fare. I think some people probably don't even really categorize his movies much as horror. I think they categorize them more as like gothic erotica, because a lot of his movies usually tend to be about female vampires and sexuality, which is what this movie is. The movie I'm reviewing today is from 1979, stars Brigitte Lahaie, and it's called Fascination. This is the first Jean Rollin movie I ever picked up, the first one I ever watched, and I did enjoy the movie. But hey, like they say, tell the truth and shame the devil. I'm going to be honest with you. When I bought this movie, I didn't know anything about Jean Rollin. Never saw a movie of his before. Didn't know anything about him. To be truthfully honest with you, the reason I bought this movie, which, back in my younger days, the reason I bought this movie was for the lead actress, Brigitte Lahaie. Reason why? Real quick, the reason why I ended up liking Brigitte Lahaie was because, I'm sure a lot of people remember now, nowadays with internet and everything else, but go back to when you didn't have all that access to the internet and stuff. Pretty much if you wanted to see beautiful, gorgeous women, what you had was basically Skinamax, late night skin, Friday, Saturday night, late night Skinamax. And I remember seeing a couple of movies with her on it, and she just became kind of like my French crush. So when I got ready to, when I hit a point where I was like, I wanted to try to collect her movies, and this was one of the first ones that came up. So I was like, well, it's got her in it. So, and I remember, seeing this iconic image of her a lot. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm curious to see what this movie's about. So I ordered it and I watched it, and yeah, it doesn't disappoint. Brigitte Lahaie, if you're definitely into her, then yeah, you're gonna love this movie. But this is one of the few Jean Rollin movies. Now, on this disc, I'm sorry, I know I'm going all over the place, but I promise I'll get to the movie in just a second. I know I'm all over the place, but bear with me, please. Now, on this disc, there's a documentary called Erotica, or Erotica. I'm sorry. Anyway, so on this documentary, they talk about Roland and they talk about his career and his movies and what his passion was and everything. And it's like once you hear this, and it's like yeah, a lot of his movies start to make sense. A lot of his movies tend to be kind of more style over substance, which is why I think a lot of his movies are very divided because what Roland said in the interview was that his thing was that he was very much attracted to beauty, and the one thing to him that was most beautiful was beautiful naked women. Which I mean, that right there tells you pretty much everything you need to know about Jean Roland's movies because his movies are usually overflowing with beautiful naked French women, Brigitte Lahaie included. And so he didn't. So a lot of the time, but also too, he was more into gothic imagery. He was into gothic stories, vampire stories in particular. And so that's why if you look at a lot of his filmography, a lot of his movies usually tend to deal with vampires. And in particular, a lot of his movies usually always had two female vampire characters. In this movie, the two female vampires are called Elizabeth and Eva. Eva being played by Brigitte. And so that usually tend to be like what he was more interested in, and he was more interested in focusing on photographing beauty, photographing sexuality, things like that. At one point in the documentary, they stated that at one point they wouldn't even let him make horror movies, so he had to stop making horror movies and make sex movies for a while. But in the meantime, he still continued to write horror novels, vampire novels, in which his two female vampire characters, always kept coming back. Okay, so yeah, so that's kind of the thing. So knowing that, that would kind of help you get a better understanding of his movies, because a lot of his movies, and this one in particular, one thing about this movie, it's beautifully shot. The cinematography on this movie is gorgeous. I mean, this looks like something Kubrick would have done. The photography is so beautiful in this movie. It's really good. And the imagery is so beautiful. But there is one thing you're always going to notice. There's always going to be something, like a beautiful image, which usually is a woman, mixed with gothic imagery, which is usually the surroundings, the place in which, the story is taking place. So anyway, let's get to the movie. Anyway, I'm already almost 7 minutes in. I haven't even talked about the movie yet. Okay, the story begins in a slaughterhouse, which you can see right there on the cover, or on the back cover. Okay, and we see, as you can see, there's this gothic, gruesome imagery of, you see the blood and you see the chunks of animal flesh, the sides of beef hanging. But within that, gothic horror imagery, you also have an image of beauty, which is this beautiful, well dressed, nice looking woman there. And then what we find out is that this woman is joined by other people. They go into this slaughterhouse. They're followed by a man who I presume is a doctor. It's never really stated, if he is one or not, but he goes in, and the man running the slaughterhouse offers these women glasses full of animal ox blood. And so, they're saying, they're like, do we have to do this? And he tells them, yeah, it's a cure for anemia. You have to take it. So they're drinking this, ox blood and everything. Then we're introduced to our two female. In some of Rollin's movies, the two females, either they are vampires themselves, or they are servants to the vampires. In this case, they're servants to the vampires. You have Elizabeth and Eva, and they're dancing on a bridge, and there's an old phonographic record playing music, and they're doing this old dancing. Okay, which that's where your opening credits come up. And then we cut to another scene, which we're introduced to our main character, Mark. Mark is an idiot. I'm going to be honest with you. Mark is an idiot. And one thing, I admit it, one thing I like about this movie too is that, it doesn't give up all its secrets right away. Sometimes it would help, this movie would benefit from multiple viewings if you're going to watch this. So, because one thing I did not pick up the first time I watched it, but, not even the second time I watched it, I didn't even pick up on it till just a few minutes before I was getting ready to do the review. And I noticed that in this movie has a very strong feminine side to it. It's very much a feminist film in a way, because the character of Mark, okay, he's with this crew of people. I believe it's three guys and a woman. And, they just got done stealing these gold coins. Now Mark is saying that he's going to take these gold coins, and he's going to, go to London. He's going to find somebody who's going to change the gold coins for money. Then he'll split the money evenly. But we find out right away that Mark is, he's not a man of high ethics, And so the people that he's with, they decide that, no, they don't trust him, that they want the money right away, that they're going to go ahead and take it. So Mark takes the woman in the group and decides to take her with him. And so he's like, you follow me, I'm going to kill her, I swear to God. And so, he's taking her off. And they're like, should we go after him? Should we go after him and all this? And the leader of the group is like, no, no, you don't need to. She's smart. She knows how to get away. Which right there starts telling you that the women in this movie are always in control. The women in the movie always know how to get themselves out of the situations. The women in the movie cannot be duped. So I'm not saying they're Mary Sue's or anything, but just in this movie, when you watch it, that's one thing you're gonna notice. Like I just did, the women in the movie always have the upper hand. They're always going to be able to outsmart the guys. Mostly in this case, it's just Mark. So anyway, so Mark, takes the woman with him, and so at one point she tells him, what are you going to do with me? He's all like, we're gonna walk and everything. It's gonna be like a couple days walk and everything else. And when I'm sure it's safe, I'll let you go. You can scram. So at one point, she opens up her shirt, exposes herself to him, and she tells him, why don't you just take me right now and then let me go?" And so he starts laughing at her, and so she goes up, hits him. At one point, she gives him a good kick to the old family jewels, and then she goes running off. So right there, you see, she outsmarted him. She was able to get away. So he's trying to compose himself, get his bag of gold coins ready, and then she runs back. She finds the other guys from the crew, and then they start shooting at Mark. He's able to get away. He gets to this basically this castle kind of a thing. It's got a moat around it, but there's like a bridge, and that's the only way in or out of this castle. So he goes across the bridge. He sees Elizabeth and Eva standing in the window. So he knows there's two women in the house. So he goes in, and so there's this little game of hide and seek as he's trying to find the two women. Eventually, he finally does. And so, he's like, okay, I know you two are here. How many other people are in this house? And they said, nobody. The servants won't be here for a couple of days. It's just us two and everything. So he takes Elizabeth and Eva to this room and locks them in. But like I said, the women always have the upper hand in this movie. So he locks them in, takes the key out of the door, shuts the door. But then we see that Elizabeth and Eva already have a spare key hidden away in the bedside table. But, before they decide to go out, escape or anything like that, they decide that they're going to make love. So you have a lesbian love scene in here. So then they go and then they start, they run up, they don't run up to him. They sneak up on Mark and then they start taunting him and, playing jokes with him and stuff like that. And then at one point, Eva says that she wants to rape him. And so, she's all like, hey, you're not going to leave until dark anyway. So it'd be nice if you why not have a little fun, So he takes Eva into another room. But he notices that, Elizabeth is jealous. So he asks, Elizabeth, aren't you going to be a little put off by this? And Elizabeth, I don't care. But you could clearly see that Elizabeth is genuinely jealous. And so he takes Eva into the next room and they have sex. And while they're doing that, Elizabeth is saying, Mark, I could have loved you and I could have been with you and everything. But, you've entered into Elizabeth and Eva's world of madness, and stuff like that. So she sneaks into the room while they're having sex, and she manages to get his gun. She goes out, and in a moment, it looks like she's going to shoot herself, but the gun goes off. And so basically, I think she just fires the shot just to break the two of them up. And so, Mark, he's getting dressed and he's like, oh shit, I got to get out of here. That shot, would definitely let somebody know something's going on here, and so Eva goes up to Elizabeth and tells her, I didn't do this, for pleasure or anything. I slept with him just to, keep him here because we need him here. We need him to be here when the others get here. And so Mark tries to get out, but his crew, they find him. And so he's trying to figure out, there's a bit of a shootout. And so he's trying to figure out, well, what are we going to do and all this? At which point Eva takes the case of the gold coins and she goes out. He's like, they're going to kill her. They're going to kill her. And Elizabeth, don't worry about it. Eva's going to be fine. She'll come back. Don't worry about it. Eva goes out to this crew and she, tells them, here's the gold coins. Just take it and leave and all this. And so he's like, one of the guys is like, no, we want to count the money. And she's like, you can count the money in the stables. There you go. And so they decide, no, we're going to take you with us. And so the leader and the woman that we find out is actually his wife. They take her into the stables. And so he tells Eva, here's what's going to happen. You're going to strip off your clothes. You're going to strip off your dress and give it to my wife because she's wearing this beautiful white, almost something of a wedding dress almost. And he's like, you're going to take off that dress and give it to my wife. My wife, needs a good dress. And then I'm going to abuse you the way that I do her. So Eva, without, without a word, she takes off the dress, gives it to him. Excuse me. They get into the stable. And so he starts, um, sexually assaulting her, basically. And so the wife, she puts on the dress, and so she goes out and she's just kind of frolicking around. Which that part didn't make sense. I'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, so while like I said in this movie, the women have the upper hand because eventually Eva gets on top of the guy, and while things are going on, she laid down a cloak on the straw. Well, it turns out in the pocket of this cloak is a dagger, so she takes a dagger, and unfortunately, in the high def version, when you watch it, you can easily see it's a retractable knife. You know, so she takes the knife, plunges it into his stomach, kills him. He doesn't scream, but she kills him. Then she takes the scythe, which leads up to the iconic moment here. The other two guys are sitting out there; they're counting the gold and all that stuff, and they're not paying attention. Their back is to her. She comes up and just gets them. And now, what I said about the part that didn't make any sense was that the leader, his wife, she's on the bridge, by the house, and she's just dancing around, kind of frolicking around, wearing this new dress she got. But the thing is like Mark is in the house, and he sees her. He could easily, just point the gun out the window, shoot her dead. Doesn't do that. I don't know why he doesn't. But anyway, so Eva comes up. She's got the scythe. The woman, she pulls out a knife. They have a little bit of a face off. Not much to it, I'm going to be honest with you. It's over pretty quickly. And Eva basically just kind of runs the scythe across her face, and she's got a little bit of blood. And then she dies. And so, Eva goes back in. And, at which point Mark is like, I got to get out of here. I'm going to leave right now and all this kind of stuff. And, I was like, yeah, I need to get out of here. And she's all like, oh my God, yes, you need to leave. And he's all like, well, now I'm scared. I'm going to stay. And then what we come to find out, I'm not going to give too much more away, but what we come to find out is that actually it's a group of female vampires who are kind of aristocrats. They show up, and what it is, they need a mark for a male victim, and then they drink his blood and all this kind of stuff. I'm not going to tell you how it ends, but they have the ceremony. They're going to kill him, drink his blood, and everything else. And so that's why the whole point is try to get him to stay. But at the same time, you have the character of Elizabeth trying to get him to leave because Elizabeth believes that she's in love with Mark. But like I said, Mark is definitely, you watch this movie, you're going to find out pretty quick, Mark is not the sharpest knife in the drawer. But overall, this is a good movie. But I will say, don't expect a whole lot out of this. I think if you're just in it for the horror, if you're in it for the blood and the gore and the death and the carnage and stuff, probably his best movies to watch would be like Grapes of Death or The Living Dead Girl. Those movies would probably be the best ones. This one here, this is more if you like more like gothic erotica. Um, Beautiful, naked, sexy vampire women. The two women, Elizabeth and Eva, who are their servants. So that's kind of it. If so yeah, Jean Rollins movies are not really for everybody. If you're somebody who has if you have a taste for, gothic erotica, then his movies are more your type because that is a lot of what his movies are. There's a lot of, usually there's always these gothic settings like gothic castles, like Dracula's kind of castle kind of a thing. Um, Graveyards, those play a big part into a lot of Roland's films. But, you know, yeah, if you're going into it hoping for a lot of hacking and slashing and dismemberment and things like that, then yeah, Roland's movies are really not for you. If you like, if you like beautiful women, gothic imagery, nudity, sex, things like that. If you like the idea of kind of gothic, I know I keep saying gothic a lot. Hey, a drinking game. Every time I say the word gothic, take a shot. You'd be dead from alcohol poisoning. But yeah, if you're into that kind of a thing, then and some people are. That's how he's got a lot of his fan base. Some people they like that. They like that whole sort of thing. Yeah, I love that kind of, that kind of vampire kind of death mixed with, sex and everything else. If you're into that kind of thing, then yeah, this movie is really going to do it for you. But other than that, yeah, I don't really think I could recommend this. I mean, if you just want to see people getting ripped apart and blood and gore flying all over the place, no, this ain't going to do it for you. But yeah, like I said though, it is an interesting watch. This movie does have a little bit more of a plot, because I told you about the Mark taking the gold coins and then going to the castle and and everything else. And then he's stuck there waiting. Well, not stuck there, but he's there. He's waiting until night, and they keep talking about their friends are coming. Their friends are coming. So this has a little bit more of a story going for it than a lot of Rollin's films do. Some of his movies really don't have much of a plot. They don't have much of a thorough storyline. It's a lot of his movies really are just kind of a lot of beautiful horror, beauty, sexuality, and horror imagery mixed together. But this one has a little bit more of a story to it. Some of the acting is definitely off. I'm going to say that. A lot of the character motivation doesn't make sense. Like I said, like when Mark is like, I need to get out of here. And she's like, yes, you need to leave. Well, now I'm going to stay, and that kind of thing. But there are some hidden things in this movie. So I would say, curiosity's sake, if nothing else, maybe give it a watch. But yeah, if you're not into the whole, vampire sexiness thing, then yeah, I'd say skip it. So, but yeah, I didn't mind. It was a good movie. Brigitte Lahaie definitely helps. So. But anyway, that's going to pretty much do it. I'm sorry it took so long to ramble through this movie, but yeah, there was a lot to talk about. So if anybody took the time to watch this video, I thank you for doing it. I appreciate you for doing it. I honestly hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like on it. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the Body Bags channel. There's a different reviewer, one for every day of the week. I'm the Friday reviewer. We have different guys. Everybody's doing great stuff. We have the fun theme weeks and our label weeks. I think our next label is Vinegar Syndrome, so that's going to be fun to do. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you later.